Welcome to Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto Willis. How is everybody out there doing today? We are going to have a great show for you today, folks. How are you doing? We are fine today. Anyhow, folks, what are we going to talk about today? We have a lot to talk about today, and it's going to be concentrado on, guess what, Davos. What are we going to talk about Davos? But anyway, before we get started, I want to tell Rico, who is on the boards. Rico, how are you doing today? Great to have you playing the boards for us today.
Yeah, just a little mix-up there, but we're back to normal. I'm going to blame the wedding from this weekend.
You drank too much.
No. And I'm out.
You're No, I'm kidding. But likewise, we have Howard in the room. Howard, how you doing today, my brother? You know I have to salute you once you're in there, man.
What would you have to salute me for?
Well, because you make things happen around here. You're like the master engineer around here that knows how every single part of this operation works, man.
I just keep the glue on the tin cans and string. That's all I do.
But guess what? If you don't have the glue and you don't have the string and just have the tin can, it doesn't work. So what can I say, man? Thank you for being here. Hey, before I get started, I want to give our general manager a hard time. He comes into the studio and he started to talk about cars that are no good. I had me a Duster in Panama, a Plymouth Duster in Panama. He said, oh, that darn thing's going to fall apart or probably fall apart. Well, let's teach our general manager a lesson, all right? If you have a Duster, a Plymouth Duster that you have that just hanging around, bring it to the studio, or I shouldn't say bring it to the studio. We don't have where to put it, but donate it to the studio so that we can make a few bucks on that Duster, that Plymouth Duster, or some comparable car to show our general manager, El Señor Sandy. Why, you know what I mean, Sandy? Let's go ahead and show him that there is there are values within these old cars. You hear that, Sandy? Senor Manager, there are values in the car. So let us have that car. And let's show this man that we can make some money with those cars. You hear me, Sandy? Wait, don't run. Come and talk to my folk a bit. Let's have a little chat here, Sandy. What's that about Dusters?
Oh, well, a fine American automobile. But how many do you really see on the road? That's the true test, the endurance, like KPFT.
Oh, God. Guess what? Well, we are we endure, man.
Do you know that in a few short weeks, we will be 53 years old?
Dang.
So if you got an old car, one way to support the station is to donate that old car. But I digress. It's Politics Done Right with Egberto Willis.
But you know what? Bring the Duster. Let's show him it's going to make some money. Anyway, folks, we have a great show for you today. And you know what? It's all about you. But you wouldn't know that. You won't know that. And you know why you won't know that? Because it's all happening in Davos, Switzerland. Davos, Switzerland. Anyhow, title of the show today, 200 plus millionaires urge world leaders at Davos to tax the ultra rich, stop pilfering the masses. You know, and it's great that these guys had that to say because I actually know some of the signatures on that article that they wrote. But anyhow, let's go ahead and get started with it. 200 plus millionaires urge world leaders at Davos to tax the ultra rich. Stop pilfering the masses. Subtitle is Billionaires, ultra rich millionaires, political leaders, and activists are at the World Economics Forum in Davos, exchanging ideas and quote unquote learning. A group of millionaires has some important advice for them. We're going to talk about that. But please remember, folks, this is a call-in show, and I'd love for you to give us a call early as possible because I think this is a subject that I want you guys engaged on, right? I want you engaged on this subject because, I'll put it this way, we need you to be engaged on what we're going to talk about today because they've got us all fooled, and we have to get the solutions to these problems, we have to be engaged. Anyhow, that number is 713-526-5738. Call us now, 713-526-5738. Hit extension 2 and you will be on air right away. Please don't wait till the end of the show. Get online now. Let's go ahead and get busy. Here is the article, or here is the essay for the program. And you know you can get the essay for the program at politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Goes like this. The World Economic Forum defines itself as the international organization, I repeat, the International Organization for Public-Private Cooperation. They bill themselves as an organization that engages the foremost political, business, cultural, and other leaders of society to shape global, regional, and industry agenda. So everything that happens in the Western world, and actually the entire world, but you know the Western world pretty much has omnipotence over the economic systems around the world. They all go there to discuss it. The billionaires, the culturalists, they're all in Davos talking, coming up with ideas. Some of them are being, silenced, but that's what occurs. The organization was established in 1971 as a not-for-profit foundation headquartered in Geneva, Switzerland. They claim to be independent, impartial, and not tied to any special interests. They say they strive in all their efforts to demonstrate entrepreneurship in the global public interest while upholding the highest standards of governance, claiming that moral and intellectual integrity is at the heart of everything it does. That sounds beautiful. That is pretty. If it were only so, if the results that came out of these meetings actually were so, would be great. When one watches their speakers, it is clear that they try to blend mostly the best of many kinds of organizations from both the public and private sectors, including academia. The World Economic Forum says they believe in stakeholder theory. I want you to step back for a minute. Stakeholder theory means let me define it for you. Stakeholder theory is a view of capitalism that stresses the interconnected relationships between business, their customers, suppliers, employees, investors, communities, and others who have a stake in any organization, in community. It is clear, based on the declining economic state and powerlessness of the employee and the customer, that the theory does not treat stakeholders evenly. Capitalism in its name is probative. The stakeholders who own and control the capital continue to be the lords, as the consumers and employees remain the serfs. Think about that. Think about when we got the war started, or when Russia invaded Ukraine. Think about when they told you. I want you guys to remind this, because I repeat this ad nauseum, because you all need to understand the reality of what's going on in America, so that we can all come together and not let them snow us as they normally do. We all remember what happened right after the pandemic. A lot of these companies were kind of slow. They weren't making the kinds of money that they want. So as soon as the pandemic was over, they wanted to gouge you and take whatever they could. War starts in Ukraine. Good excuse. Oh, Russia is a big producer of oil. War in Ukraine means that we're going to have an oil shortage. And I kept on scratching and pulling the hairs that I don't have at the top of my head. How is that going to be possible? How is it that a war in Ukraine, Russia is still pumping oil, Venezuela is still sitting on top of an ocean of oil, America is producing more oil than ever, Saudi Arabia is filled with oil, Iraq, oil, Iran, oil. There's oil all over the place. And by the way, we don't want to be burning all this oil, but there was no shortage of oil, right? And since they sanctioned Russia, it meant Russia was going to put their oil on the black market. And guess what happens when a deceitful state put their oil on the black market? It goes for a lot cheaper. So that means there are a lot of countries that are buying Russian oil on the cheap, which means there are a lot of oil that would be bought at supposedly at a higher price from America, Canada, and all these other places. They would have to drop their price of oil because, again, there is somebody selling oil cheaper, and those people who bought the oil from Russia doesn't need that oil back from us. And what did we as a society buy? We as a society believe what the news media was telling us. We as a society believe that the prices of oil is going to go up because there's a war in Ukraine, and we just accepted it. I went on Muslim TV, and I wrote a blog actually, and a producer at Muslim TV saw the blog, and they just couldn't believe what I was saying. They were just saying that everybody's talking about there's not going to be a glut of oil. There's not. And I explained the whole thing, and we went on the channel, and it's like, oh, that makes sense, right? And what do you hear today? You hear that Saudi Arabia takes 2 million barrels of oil a day off the market. You hear that we have a glut of oil all over because there was never a shortage of oil. And what these guys that I'm going to be continuing talking about did was they lied to us so that we would be passive in accepting a lie, in accepting the price of oil that was unjustified. Now, the stakeholders, remember we were at stakeholder theory. Stakeholder theory is a view of capitalism that stresses the interconnected relationship between businesses, their customers, suppliers, employees, investors, communities, and others. And who gets the short end of the stick every single time? You and me, the employee and the consumer. Think about it, people. I need you to think about it well. Because until we are together thinking, they can continue to abuse us. Before I continue with the program, let's go to Stacy, who's on the line. And folks, please give us a call at 713-526-5738. Come on in, Stacy.
Hey, I'm trying to figure out why Russia selling its oil makes it black market oil. Is the United States and the West the only people that can decide what's legitimate, a legitimate sale or not?
You know, you are such a smart person, Stacy, that you actually... What happened there? Did we lose Stacy? Stacy, call back because I want to answer your question, and I'm hoping that you will be there to take the answer because, there's something important that you said. So give us a call back, Stacy, 713-526-5738. But what Stacy said deserve mention. Stacy said, what makes Russia oil black market oil? Don't they have the right to sell oil if they want to? The truth of the matter is they do. The rest of the countries around the world decided to sanction Russia for invading Ukraine. Do I agree with that? Yes, I agree with that. Did I call it black market oil? I call it black market oil because it wasn't within the family of countries. Wrong or right, that's what it was, or that's what it is. But the fact of the matter, though, is there is a glut of oil on the market. And we, the stakeholders in America, we, the stakeholders in the world, as what Davos talks about, having all stakeholders have equal access, having all stakeholders taken into account in this economic system is not what occurs. And the reason I brought up the entire oil issue is to prove to all of us that this stuff that capitalism and stakeholder theory doesn't hold any water because we always ultimately pay the price as our monies go to a few. 713-526-5738. 713-526-5738. I would love to get more calls on this issue as I continue with the essay. All is not lost. All is not lost. A small but growing percentage of the above-mentioned lords realize that the continual robbing of the serfs is unsustainable and a clear and present danger to stability and their existence. In other words, the serfs are going to find, the lords are going to find out that their existence is limited. I was talking to Howard, our engineer out here earlier today, and he said people need to realize one thing. If a tree is blossoming, has a lot of leaves, and it's growing strong at the top, and you forget that it has a trunk, and you forget that the roots have to be fed, the roots have to be cared for that top to do well, the whole thing in the long run comes tumbling down. And that is what's eventually happening to our economic system. In that light, a group of millionaires wrote the following open letter to the leaders currently at the World Economic Forum in Davos. I checked the list of signers and was happy to see both Mark Ruffalo, the actor-activist I spent some time with at Netroots in Detroit, as we protested the evil Republican Michigan governor and others that were really messing with people's water, people's land, all that kind of stuff that was happening there. So we had this huge protest at Netroots in Detroit that they actually they brought the sonic boom to the park where we all congregated to run us out of the park with that high-pitched sound that you just can't stand. I mean, they brought military equipment, man, to get us out of that park. But anyhow, so Mark Ruffalo is one of the activist millionaire who signed the letter, as well as was Morris Pearl, the chairman of the Patriotic Millionaires, who I just interviewed 2 weeks ago. Anyhow, this is the letter that they wrote. For the attention of our political leaders attending Davos, we are living in an age of extremes. Rising poverty and widening wealth inequality, the rise of anti-democratic nationalism, extreme weather and ecological decline, deep vulnerabilities in our shared social system, and the shrinking opportunity for billions of ordinary living wages. I mean, extremes are unsustainable, often dangerous, and rarely tolerated. And he's absolutely right. Extremes are rarely tolerated. So, what do we do about it? What do we do about it? They continue in their letter. The history of the last 5 decades is a story of wealth. I repeat, it's a story. I missed my point. Extremes are unsustainable, often dangerous, and rarely tolerated for long. So why in this age of multiple crises do you continue to tolerate extreme wealth? The history of the last 5 decades is a story of wealth flowing nowhere but upwards. In the last few years, this trend has greatly accelerated in the first 2 years of pandemic. The richest 10 men in the world doubled their wealth while 99%, I repeat, while 99% of the rest of us saw their incomes fall. Billionaires and millionaires have watched their wealth grow by trillions of dollars, while the cost of simply living is now crippling ordinary families across the world. I want you to digest that. We're in a pandemic. The government is throwing money at people so that we have an economic system that doesn't fully collapse. We invest in helping drug companies produce the vaccines that's necessary to get us back on track. We, the people, have invested all these money to keep corporations hold. We passed the PPP, your money, to make sure Southwest can stay afloat, to make sure United can stay afloat, to make sure Exxon can stay afloat. We are pumping money out, folks. Your money. We are pumping your money to all these people, all these corporations. And what is the ultimate result? The ultimate result is they turn around and give that money to their shareholders, their executives with high bonuses. And then what do they give to us again? I want you to recall, go to the store. Higher inflation. Is it inflation caused really by the supply chain issue? Is it inflation really caused by shortage of oil or anything like that? No. You can't buy that. It is inflation because they have pricing power. They recovered. We gave them their monies that they didn't make during the pandemic, and then they decided they wanted more. They just couldn't get enough. But they're in Davos now, talking about what's best for society. So we have these millionaires who decided to write this letter with the expectation that somebody at Davos, one of those wealthy cats, those governments that don't want to tax the wealthy, will at least listen. The solution is plain for all to see, according to the letter. You, our global representatives, have to tax us, the ultra rich, and you have to start now. These are rich people saying, please save the world, save the country, tax us, please. We can't take it anymore. How much more money could we possibly get? Folks, give us a call, 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. Would love to hear from you, your thoughts on not only the wealthy, your thoughts on what the wealthy is ultimately via their corporations doing to you. 713-526-5738. All right, continuing. The current lack of action is gravely concerning, according to the letter. A meeting of the global elite in Davos to discuss cooperation in a fragmented world is pointless if you aren't challenging the root cause of division. Defending democracy and building cooperation requires action to build fairer communities, not then, right now. It is not a problem that can be left for our children to fix. We caused the problem, is what their millionaires are saying. We ought to fix the problem. 713-526-5738. Give us a call. Let's have a chat. Let me know what you are thinking on the subject. Now is the time to tackle extreme wealth. Now is the time to tax the ultra rich. There is only much stress any society can take. Only so many times mothers and fathers will watch their children go hungry while the ultra rich contemplate their growing wealth. The cost of action is much cheaper than the cost of inaction. It's time to get on with the job. Tax the ultra rich and do it now, they reiterate in that letter. Tax us now. It's simple. Common sense economics. It is an investment in our common good and a better future that we all deserve. And as a millionaires, we want to make that investment. Again, these are millionaires talking. They're saying the same thing we say on Politics Done Right, day in and day out. What's occurring with the wealth being transferred up the ladder to the few is legalized theft. And we got to do something about it. But you know who's responsible? We sit down and we say, those damn politicians, they're the ones causing the problem. They're the ones that are giving all these benefits to these rich cats. I have another answer, though, my dear brothers and sisters. It's not the politicians' fault. It is our fault. It is our fault for simply believing what those in power are telling us. It is our fault for simply accepting a corporate state and believing, just haphazardly believing what they say. It is our fault that we don't go and think deeper into what they're doing. It is our fault. I hear too many people defending these guys as if they need someone to defend them for ripping us off. You go to the store and you want to blame the people that have little control over the prices that you're being paid. The workers say we need more money so that we can afford to live. The rich person tells you they don't need any more money. If they get more money, your prices will rise. And then they turn you against your fellow worker, your fellow person, your fellow this, your fellow that. It's a racket. It is our fault. We have to get serious about believing in ourselves and believing that we are the ones who create an economy. We're the ones who make an economy run. And we cannot cede that to those who use the economy not as something to enrich us all, but something as a conduit to take it all away from most. It is our fault. We cannot be gullible. We cannot sit back and just believe for the sake of believing. We cannot believe on the things they taught us to believe. We cannot continue to hate on each other to prevent us from seeing who's really guilty. Every day you get up and you pay more for those eggs, it's not your fault, but it's not your neighbor's fault. It's not your conservative neighbor's fault. It's not your liberal neighbor's fault. It's not your progressive neighbor's fault. It's not your anarchist neighbor's fault. There's only one sect in this country, only one, that has ultimate pricing power and ultimate control. And we ceded it to them by electing politicians who've so far passed laws to protect them and not you. That is why there are certain things you can't do. That is why if you decided to go off grid in your community, you still have to pay the corporation a few bucks. That is why no matter what you do, our laws make the few whole. It's not their fault. It is ours. It is not, I repeat, it is not their fault. It is ours. So what do we do? We're going to talk about that a little bit later. What do? We have the power, but we have to enforce that power. We have to be able to do it. Let's go ahead and go to Jack. I think Jack is ready to come on. And as soon as it goes red, I'll put Jack on. Jack, you're on. Jack, you're on.
Yeah, I wanted to point out that besides our power of the vote,
yes,
we have the power of how we spend our money.
Yes,
with
you're right.
These corporations.
Yes,
and that if we were to we could unify around that and actually wage economic warfare on the wealthy.
Jack, first of all, very insightful and absolutely correct. Here's one issue, and here's how I would love to see this going, right? I wrote a paper where I said, yes, we do have the power. Now, but there are certain parts of our economy where we don't. Let's give an example. You have to drive. So therefore, in the energy sector, they have the noose. We also need electricity to run our household, so they have some leverage there. We also need a basic amount of food to live on. So my corollary to what you just stated, which is absolutely correct, sir, is that for in industries where this is the type of, I believe in a bifurcated economy. I believe in free enterprise. Okay, in other words, you want to have your pizza shop, you have your pizza shop. You want to have your grocery store, you have all these independent things that all of us can create our own businesses. But for things that are essential to life, essential for movement, I think those things should all be controlled by we, the people. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, and William, I'll come after to you. Go ahead, Jack.
All I can do is agree with what you're saying. I mean, I would like to see, instead of the people being all divided, to be able to say, well, you know, these corporations are, you know, gouging us for gas. You know, I'm going to try to find me a way to ride my bicycle a little more.
Agreed.
You know, and slow down on that, and just as my own personal protest, I do these things.
I so agree with you, Jack. I so agree with you. We have, you know, the biggest thing that they know how to do, right? And I say they because it's really orchestrated. It's psychologically tested. They know how to keep us divided. And what we have to do, and one of the things I do on my programs, I tell people all the time, I gave a speech to a club a couple of weeks ago, and I told them, I hate on nobody. Even those hating on me, I make sure not to hate on anybody. And I said the reason why is if I hate on somebody, Jack, they win. Because that's what they need. So therefore, it doesn't matter how bad you are to me, how rough you are with me, what you do to me. I am going to be that backstop that says I won't let them win. And you know what?
And that's what I admire about you, Gilberto.
I appreciate that, sir. So, I mean, that is what we got to do. So let's make sure, folks, everybody that's listening to our voices, both my voice and Jack's voice, everybody is your friend. Everybody is your brother and your sister, minus the corporate executives and shareholders forcing them to pilfer you. Anything else, Jack?
Well, I'll call back on some other things. I've got some personal opinions about, personal responsibility, being a citizen.
I love that.
And, okay,
we'll
I'll call back later.
All right. You have a great time, Jack. Thank you so kindly for calling in, all right? Let's go to William. Come on in, William. Talk to me.
Hello, Egberto.
Talk to me, William.
Okay, I got two things that are real quick, and then one I want to finish why I haven't been calling.
Okay.
One is what Roosevelt did. He took the people that you were talking about when you started this diatribe, and, the millionaire class, and he rallied them at the Washington, D.C., and said, you people need to give us some money so we can get this economy rolling and get these poor people off the street. Right?
Yes. The New Deal. Go ahead.
Okay, so hardly anybody knows about that takeover that the Republicans tried to pull over when they tried to take out FDR.
Yes, I know about the story, but go ahead.
So what happened to those people? That's what I think people need to know. What happened to those people that pulled that little farce off? But they were real serious about what they were doing. It was much more organized than that idiot Trump.
And they didn't succeed, did they?
No, they didn't. But what I'm talking about is what happened to the people, the congressmen, the people in the military. What happened to those people?
Look, let me tell you what happened in general, and I'll generalize this, and it goes as follows. Most people don't care to be leaders. At first I was going to say most people are not leaders, but that's not true.
I'm talking about what happened to them when they had to go to court.
It never happened. It never really happened. We don't, in America, the powerful, even the deceitful powerful, don't go to jail in the aggregate.
Well, the whole deal is this ultra right wing group of people that are trying to take over the country. Mm-hmm. If you look at any other country, these people that tried to, that were them with the rebellion, they'd have them lined up or they'd be in prison for 20 years to life.
Yes. And look at what's happening in Brazil.
That's what we're looking at if they get in power.
Look, wait, hold on a second, William. I really want to get in here because this is what Americans need to, I think, we as Americans have to understand. In other countries, you look at Brazil, and when they got their coup, they immediately started arresting people. They arrested about 1,000 people right away, and those people are going to be in deep caca. I can tell you that. I know how Latin American justice work, okay? Latin American justice ain't American justice. But in America, we have two justice systems. The justice system for the poor and otherwise, and the justice system for the wealthy. In other words, you have Trump who is considered the wealthy on one side, and then you have the rest, and they go around Trump with soft fingers. In other words, we talk
people on TV,
right?
You know, these so-called pundits,
right?
They keep scratching their head. Why in the world are these people voting Republican? Because they are members of multi-generation crime families, and it's straight through. It's huge. When you look at what Reagan and Bush Sr. did with cocaine, and then what the Clintons
I figured you were going to be going there, but I want to tell you one thing. Hold on, William. Folks, give us a call, 713-526-5738, 713-526-5738. Look, we have a lot of crime families. There's no doubt about that. But the basic reason a lot of people voted the way they voted in 2020. Actually, think about this. Donald Trump got more votes than Hillary Clinton got in her first election. Biden had to beat that plus 7 million to win. So, but
I understand that. But
no,
the whole deal is they need to quit, you know, being soft touches on going after what these people really are and who they are.
Yeah. Again, I don't disagree with you at all. I mean, they have to,
okay.
but.
Okay, now let me get to my final point.
All right, go ahead.
The reason I haven't been calling in is, number one, they turned my phone off. I have a government phone.
Okay.
Number two, I have the same psychiatrist at the VA. She's from India. She's the sweetest little thing. And you have finally acknowledged that the people I'm talking about were really messing with me. And she told me that they're going to murder me or they're going to destroy me any way they can if I try and get a screenplay made and a movie made about what I know.
Okay. Let me tell you, William, they can, usually that's how things happen. They threaten you. But look, go make your screenplay, William. All right? You go make your
I haven't been able to write a paragraph. They made me you are familiar with the shock doctrine by Naomi Klein. That's what they did to me right here at the VA hospital.
I hear you.
I haven't been able to write a paragraph. That's why I've been trying to get somebody to do a collaboration with me. I asked you for 10 years to try to interview me, and you wouldn't even do that.
It's not that, William. It's just that we don't have the intersectionality on that particular subject. But again, there's nothing stopping you from doing it. I'm telling you.
I mean, if you can allow the people I'm trying to show the world of, you know, these people have been around forever.
Yes, they have.
You understand? But they got a huge toehold because of what Reagan and Bush Sr. did.
William, I'm going to stop you right here. I'm going to stop you. William, I want to stop you right here to say one thing, okay? I've spoken to you over the years that I've been doing Politics Done Right. And I'll be very honest with you. There's a whole lot of stuff that you say that many of us know actually occurred. But whenever you are revealing certain things, you always have to know your audience, and not only know your audience, know what your audience can take. Remember those 2 words of advice if you listen to anything that I've said here. Okay? Because there's...
Are you kidding me? 90, way over 90% of the people I talk to, which is about 500,000 right now, thank me from the bottom of their heart.
I am not doubting that. But, William, I got to go finish with the program. But I tell you what, William, go write your manuscript because, like I said...
I just told you, I haven't been able... My mind races. It's in the book that Naomi Klein written. They did that to me right here in the United States.
Well, William, you got a friend here, okay? You're fine. You have a friend here. You're fine. Thank you so kindly, and you have a wonderful rest of your day, my brother. Anyhow, continuing with the program, the essay, I ended with the last phrase from the Millionaires' statement in that letter. Folks, but give us a call, 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. And it ended this way, and I think I read it already, but it's important for us to reiterate it after William was called. Tax the ultra-rich and do it now. It's simple, common sense economics. It is an investment in our common good and a better future that we all deserve. And as millionaires, we want to make that investment. These are millionaires says, please tax us, put it into general revenue so that you can do something positive with it. In other words, give people family leaves, give people health care, give people all these things that makes for a real society. All right. The signers included, like I said, Mark Ruffalo, as well as the chairman of the Patriotic Millionaires. All right, continuing, we have, while it is a good thing to have open letters like these from the stakeholders in our economic system with capital, it is not near enough. The current economic system is immoral by design. Wealthy stakeholders like Morris Pearl are moral. As such, they voluntarily supersede the immorality of the system they are a part of. Let's go ahead and get Johnny Carson on, and then I'll continue with these. I'll continue with the essay. Johnny, come on in. Oops, I think you're going to be on. There you are, Johnny.
Oh, that was quick.
Well, I stopped the essay because I said I always want to make sure the people who call have precedence. Anyway, continue, my friend.
Anyway, I tuned into your program halfway through your at the bottom of the hour, and I caught some of your conversation with the gentleman who can't get his words out. What's his name again? William, right. So, I don't know, unless you're a resident in a nursing home where others have custody over your every moment of every day, where it's nearly impossible to maintain a diary because someone's going to find it or take it or see it and then destroy it. That has happened. I don't see what the problem is for him to... does he have a custody issue? Does somebody have custody over him?
I am not sure, but I mean, William has been calling us for probably 10 years or so. And, you know, it's hard to... William, there's a lot of what William said about the drug trade and all of that. That is absolutely true. But if you're telling a story... the messenger is important, as well as being able to corroborate what you're saying is important. And I've been telling him that for years. You know, you have to be
even if you're in prison and you have regular visitation rights, provided you're not an issue to the administrator or the warden. And you have people who are volunteers and who know you, who are ready, willing, and able to record what you say or write down what you say over time. It can get out in one form or fashion, better than nothing.
Absolutely. And that's what you're repeating exactly some of the stuff that we talk about. Anyway, what's up, Johnny? Talk to me.
Well, you mentioned about a approach to an economy, a solid economy.
Yes.
And I've said this several times over the years in KPFT when it was at the other location. And I might have mentioned it a few weeks ago, either on your program or maybe to Steve Hunter. What we need is to evolve towards a hybrid economy. So whether it's 60-40 or 50-50 or 65-35, it has to be heavily regulated capitalistic businesses, and then the balance has to be horizontally based cooperative businesses.
Exactly.
And there's lots of iterations of cooperative. It doesn't have to be one. It's not a monolith. It can be a variety of approaches. So,
Johnny, let me interrupt you there.
Learn from.
Let me interrupt you for a second there, because what you said is important. It doesn't have to be a monolith. And let me tell you that already in our capitalist system, we have a lot of cooperatives that are already in existence, working exactly as we think cooperatives should work. We also, for people who just think we want a centralized government that controls everything, that would be a disaster. I believe in free enterprise because, you know what? I like a certain kind of pizza and you may like a certain kind of sardine. All right. So no, we want a bifurcated economy, but a moral economy where people can sustain. It's that simple.
Unfortunately, the only way we're going to get there we're at least 1 or 2 generations away.
Yes.
Because first we have to solve the public education system.
Right.
Right now it's on life support thanks to Donald Trump and that lady.
Oh, wait. Let's stop. Wait. Let's not just hold Donald Trump. Let me tell you something, Johnny.
No, I don't start with Reagan. I know it started with Reagan, but I'm talking about the latest assault.
Right. Davos,
Reagan started it, and Donald Trump, he more or less finished it.
No, hey, look, I'm not.
Teach for America scam.
Right. Here's
and
the deal.
Charter school system.
Johnny, that is correct. That correction is correct. Because what I don't want, people, I'm trying to get people away from thinking that the root of all our problems is Donald Trump. Donald Trump is the manifestation of the problem that has been growing for decades. So
Donald Trump is simply a Republican who's on steroids, and he's the latest iteration. Every single Republican president we've had, starting with Eisenhower on forward, has been progressively worse. Not progressive.
Progressively worse. I got you.
Progressive, but progressively worse.
Hey, Johnny, I need to go to Tory. Johnny.
Okay, 1 second.
Yes.
For example, with Eisenhower, what did he do? How did he start off the ball? He greenlighted that scheme of Kermit Roosevelt.
Yes.
Remember Kermit Roosevelt? He wanted to go to Iran and split people up, so he got CIA money to do it.
And then got
And
the
I'll
oil.
leave it there.
All right, thank you, Johnny. I got to go to Tory. Tory, come on in, my brother. Come on in.
Hey, good afternoon, Egberto.
Good afternoon, sir.
My comment for today is that essentially the problem we're having that's represented by people at Davos is that we've been hoodwinked with this sort of Orwellian doublespeak, forever calling republics democracies.
Right.
And republics are not democracies. It's lopsided a political and economic system. A republic is a legal system that creates a special class of super citizens via a constitution, representatives, who are a bottleneck on power and a way for concentrated wealth to control the political and economic system. This is by design. And then it's also by design to misname it and call it over and over again a democracy.
Well, you know what is interesting?
It's a way to prevent democracy.
Exactly.
That's the one thing that all the founders of this country agreed on. The quickest thing they agreed on was that they didn't want a democracy because they would immediately lose all of their status.
Tory, all you have to do is read the Federalist Papers, and you see that the commotion that they had and with factions and all. How do we solve the factionalization problems? And you read Federalist 10, I think, was the one that discussed factions. So, it was always evident that, yes, we were never going to be a truly representative democracy and that they didn't have faith that democracy would work. Now, let me grant something here. An uneducated people, right? If people don't, and this is the example I always give, right? If you have a bunch of hungry people, right, and you're growing corn, and you have a whole you cosechar, you have your harvest of all the corn, right? And you save a whole bag to plant for the next season, but people are uneducated and they're not full to the rim in their stomachs, and there's this huge amount of corn that's left for planting. They may say, "No, let's go ahead and use that. I'm hungry now." That's what democracy could have happened. With an uneducated democracy. That is the reason why people talk about a democratic system must have a certain level of education to prevent a democracy from ultimately killing society. So there's some merit to that. Go ahead.
Well, the problem with democracy is that it's not just a political or economic system, it's a culture. Yeah. And people don't have experience with democracy, from the macro to the micro, from families, schools, jobs, religions, militaries, governments. People have never experienced democracy. It's not part of our culture. It's like a word that we don't understand. It's just, it's not part of our social vocabulary, democracy. And so we need to build democratic cultures. And it's not just at the government level or the economic level. It's at the family. And, I'm very impressed with the Kurds. They have a democratic military. The soldiers elect their commander. And that's...
I didn't know that.
The model. That's the model we need to follow.
Right.
Is that, the workers need to elect their bosses. The police need to elect the police chief, or the people of the city need to elect the police. It's like we need, instead of top down, we need bottom up organization, or at least horizontal organization.
I agree with that, and that is why we earlier, I think with Johnny, we were talking about things like cooperatives and where things are essential, or an essential resource that belongs under the purview of we the people. Under the purview of we the people. Anything else you want to tell me, Tori?
That's it for today.
Thank you very much for
my punches in.
Thank you thank you very much for listening, my brother.
Okay,
all right,
cheers,
folks, we're going to get to the end of the essay, and it goes like this. And we still have time for a couple more calls. 713-526-5738. 713-526-5738. You guys have been quiet. You've been doing a lot of listening. I like to talk, but I really prefer hearing from you guys as well. Anyhow, while it is a good thing to have open letters like this from the stakeholders in our economic system with capital, it is not near enough. The current economic system is immoral by design. Wealthy stakeholders like Morris Pearl are moral. As such, they voluntarily supersede the immorality of the system they are a part of. The only solution is to ensure or to assure the masses that they have the power to take back what the ultra-wealthy have stolen from them using the laws they paid politicians to enact. Welcome to the discussion. Deborah Moyers, Patrick's Time. Welcome to Politics Done Right on the Internet. We must first break the myth that the system as it functions today is ordained or divine. It is not. We must also have a valid alternative. We do. But we must get through the indoctrination that many of the leaders of our society have paid to cauterize into the minds of too many. What do I mean by all of that? Look, we know the solutions to all these problems. I mean, a bifurcated economy we talk about all the time. Certain industries must be nationalized. Healthcare, energy, and a couple others for the basics of humanity should not be the purview of for-profit corporations, because you will never be the one whose life would be worthy of. Think about this. Whenever you go to the doctor today, the first thing they ask you for is insurance. They ask you, how are you going to pay for this? They ask you, how are you going to be able to do this? They don't check for your health first. They check, how are you going to pay for this? And the reason why is healthcare is just another capital distribution system to take your money and put it into the pockets of a few. Don't you forget it. And I'm not blaming them for doing that. That's their job, to make money for their shareholders. And that's why healthcare does not belong in the private sector. Driving your car, you have to go to work. They know that they have you by the pelotas. They have you by the pelotas. You have to drive to work. And thus, in order, I can charge you whatever I want for energy because you got to go to work. That does not belong in the private sector either. And basic alimentation does not belong in the private sector. We have one quick call that we can probably take. Let's go ahead and take that one quick one. And because I want anybody who mentioned that, come on in. So it is important for us to understand what is occurring in our society today. Very important for us to understand what is in. All right, the person speaking about co-op, you're going to be on air in 1 second. Come on in, Riley. Riley, you're on.
Yeah, I just wanted to make an additional comment to the co-operativization. I worked for a company, Michael Baker Jr. Corporation, and they were involved in big stuff. Their crowning glory was the arch bridge, the longest arch bridge across the New River Gorge in West Virginia. That's what they're really one of their big feats is, but they also had a lot to do with oil and gas in Russia back in the 90s. But they're an employee-owned company, and I got to say that was one of the best companies I ever worked for. I mean, we made all the decisions, and everybody benefited. It was not just about the top shareholders, So, and I just wanted to make that in there that
Thank you.
Cooperation is really the key to success for everyone.
I appreciate that call, because a lot of people think it doesn't work. And if they built a bridge as a cooperative, they could do anything. Thank you so kindly for calling in, Riley. We got to get out of here, okay? All right, folks. Look, we are getting close to that time where I have to give these airwaves up. So I just want to leave you with a few words. The condition that we are in today, and I don't mean to be accusative or anything of that nature. I'm trying for all of us to take the responsibility for our future. We are responsible for the elected officials that we have in office today. We are responsible that they have created laws that hurt us and at the same time continue to vote them in. But we can change that. When you go into your booth in the primaries, make sure you elect progressives who understand that the power lies within you. Make sure and elect in the general election those progressive politicians that are going to take back that which you have earned that was actually stolen from you. And when I say stolen, it's not hyperbole. When I say stolen, that is exactly what I mean. They stole your money using the laws that your elected officials pass under your purview. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right, and you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out! We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number 1, subscribe to our channel. And number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.